Well, hello everybody. In this video, we are going to be talking about how to trim out a tub shower valve. Now, we're going to be using a Delta valve. This is the R10000 valve. You can put a lot of different cartridges in here and get this thing to do a bunch of different stuff. Now, this valve can be used on a tub shower setup like this. It can also be used on just a tub. It can be used on just a shower. These are very common. But the trim we're going to be putting on there is actually going to be a Peerless trim. Now, Peerless and Delta are sister companies, so a lot of their stuff will work together. Just if you get the Peerless trim and you've got a Delta valve in the wall, make sure you get the kit that says it's for Delta because the cartridges are different. So this one's about the trim out now, but I do want you to know what's in the wall back here. We use this kind of setup here. It's our Delta valve, and then we have a pre-made tub spout. We use the copper because it's rigid. That way the tub spout ain't shaking and rocking around all over the place. And it does come with its own little stub out right there that you would have to cut off. Now, in the training center, we do this a lot on the same valves with the same trims over and over again, so our copper is already going to be cut. Pretty much for this, the only tool you're really going to need is a screwdriver and some Teflon tape. You may need a pair of channel lock pliers to do your tub spout, but I'm going to show you that later. So let's bring this on in close, and hopefully I can stay out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. Alright, so we're at the trim out phase of our newly constructed house, or maybe this is a remodel, or we're doing a service call where we switch some stuff out, or maybe we replace this whole tub. But here's your rough end valve, your tub spout, and then you've got a waste and overflow here. Now, everybody's kind of got their steps of way they do it. Some people start at the top, do their shower head first, and then come down to their valve, their tub spout, and then they do their drain pieces. Well, I do it a little different. I like to start right here in the middle because when you put this trim on, those screws are going to pull out on that valve, and there's actually a little cage right there. It's this little black thing. And when you put that trim on and you screw it down really good, it's actually going to hold itself against that tub wall. It's a pretty neat thing. But when you tighten that down, it's going to pull this tub spout out just a little bit. See how that wiggles? It's got a little wiggle to it. So you want to do that first. If you put your tub spout on first and then you crank down on your valve plate, your tub spout's going to pop out like that, and you're going to see that little copper piece. And you don't want that. You don't want anything there at all. So first thing you're going to do, unscrew this little retaining ring. Now watch out, most of the time these things are going to have water in it because there was a test. And yep, see, there's a little bit of water in there, so you don't want to get your pants wet. Back up a little bit, let that go down in the drain. The next thing is there's going to be a little black screen in here. Now this one's gone because we've done this one a few times. What did I do with the valve? But this one here should have that little, it's just a little filter screen. And if you don't take it out, it's just a little black thing right there, like that, and it sits right in here. If you don't take that thing out and you try to put your cartridge in, you're going to smash that all up. It's going to get in your valve and mess you up pretty bad. So once you take that off, your kit here, now bear with me, mine's all scattered around. There's a big O-ring. And a lot of people was like, you know, what's that for? Throw it away. No, that goes around here. And I'll show you what that does here in a little bit when we get done. The next thing you're going to want to do is your cartridge. Locate your cartridge. Now, these are marked with an H on one side, and that stands for hot. So that's going to go to the left. Unless somebody screwed up and has got you switched in the wall, but you're not going to know that until you go to test and when your water heater's working. You can flip these over. If hot and cold is reversed, you can flip a Delta cartridge over. Some of you can, some of you can't, depending on your brand, but the Deltas you can. The next thing you're going to do before you even put this in, there's a scald guard on the front of this. And it just simply pulls and turns, and it says hotter and colder on here. So you're just going to go ahead and turn that all the way up to hot, find that H. There's two little triangles that will line right up with that valve. You're going to push, squeeze it in. If it won't go all the way up, you've got this trim ring, and you can use your little locking ring there to help push that valve into place. But this one's been done a few times. Now this is by hand. If you put a pair of pliers on this, some plumber in 20 years is going to absolutely hate you because he won't be able to get that off. In service, taking these things off, you might have to put a pair of pliers on it, but you're going to want to get something to hold that valve so you don't spin it in the wall. So you're going to get that on good and hand tight, and now you're pretty much ready. If as long as this little black thing was on there, it's got some little guides here to catch your screws. So the next thing you would do, and I'm getting ahead of myself, I almost forgot, there's a trim ring, little chrome, whatever color they are. This is going to slide right on there, and that's what that little O-ring is for. It's going to keep that from wiggling. That's all that little O-ring does, is just keep that thing from wiggling. Now, some of them have a little plastic thing. This is a spacer. Depending on how the depth of your valve is whether or not you need that spacer. Now, I know on this application, because I've done it before, that it's going to require that spacer. So, and that sets it right there. The next thing you're going to need is your trim. Now pay attention to these things. There's typically words at the bottom telling you who made it, and then there's the hot and cold indicator at the top. Sometimes they're on the side, sometimes they're the other way, depending on what type of valve you're doing. But with this setup, it's straight up and down. You can line those two screws up and have the Peerless down at the bottom. There's also a weep hole on this. If water was to ever get behind here, it can actually drip out. It does have some foam stuff here to seal it against the wall. So typically these things should not leak. Then you're going to locate your screws. And you're going to line those up. You might have to wiggle this thing back and forth, find those little holes, and get that kind of started with your hands. Now, this is a hand tool job. I know those screws are really big and really long, and it takes forever to screw it in there. Do not put an impact, please, do not put an impact screwdriver on these things, because you will mess up the finish. You will strip the head out, and it's not designed for that. Plus, you're going to be running around all over town trying to locate some screws. Now, if it's chrome, you probably luck up and find those at your hardware store. But if it's a special color, good luck. You might have to buy the whole trim again. And that could really have cost you all the money you were going to make on that job. So do it by hand, take your time. You want it snug, you don't want to strip it out, but you want it good and snug. Screwdriver falling apart. And that's pulled my valve out. Next step here, you got a handle. Most of the time it comes with a little button on there, and there's a little screw fixed in here. Sometimes the button and the screw are in the bag. Now make sure off and on. Now if you didn't adjust that scald guard, this handle's going to want to stop straight up and down. I've seen that a lot. People say, I have no hot water, and you get over there and the handle will only go up to there. So you want it to go all the way around to hot. And this is also hand screw it. Hand screw it. Pop that in there. Now we've got that done. We are done with our valve part. Now if this was just a shower, you'd be putting the shower head on and you'd be done. If this is just a tub, you're going to do this part. But this is a tub shower, so we're going to have both parts to do here. The next thing I'm going to do is my tub spout. Now we love to use these little thing called dry seals or a tub collar. There's a hole right here. And if it's drilled too big, there's a possibility that water can get down through there. Now I normally pull out on that thing and get that thing snug. The next part is your tub spout. Now some of the kits will come with a tub spout. Sometimes you have to buy this separately. Now it does have a little Allen set screw right there. Some people will put this on and fight with a screw, fight with a screw. I've learned that you can take your channel locks, go in here and grab these little things and spin that. Sometimes it's got some little glue on it that's hard to do, but you can take this piece out. There's an O-ring right there. Watch that O-ring. And then you can slide this on. What I normally do is push up on that handle, get it snug, and then most of your kits, your tub spouts come with a little Allen wrench. and you're just gonna screw this little set screw right on down. Be careful not to scratch your tub wall with the Allen wrench, especially if it's new construction, because any little blemish in new construction, you're gonna be right back out there fixing it. So screw that down, and then you're gonna screw your tub spout in. Now, I tell you, I did this for years and years. Trim outs were my thing, and I never caulked the tub spout, because my tub spouts always went all the way up on there, and I never had a big nasty gap because of the techniques that I do. But we do like to put a little bit of that white tub tile caulk around that just to make it look prettier. There's our tub spout. Now, there's a reason why I did my tub spout before I did any of my drain pieces here. And some of your Delta, there's sweat on. Or the old school stuff, you actually had to sweat the threaded fitting on there, and you had to measure it and you had to get it just right. Well, flux and solder and stuff like that, it will mess up the finishes on your waste and overflow and your little trim thing here. So at this point, I'm down here in the tub. The next thing I'm going to do is this drain assembly. So I'm going to move my camera again. Well, here's our drain setup. This one's already been pretty much taken apart and knocked out for us. So I went and got a new one that hadn't been done yet. These your waste and overflow drain assembly pieces here. A lot of old plumbers call these a tub shoe. Which is what, if I went to my supply house and asked for this apparatus, I would say I need a tub shoe. Some people just call it a rough-in waste and overflow. But I got one here to show you. The overflow part comes with a pre-made test cap. It's already glued in there. And as you can see, there's still some orange around this one. You have to knock that out. And the best way to do it is take a screwdriver and jab it in there. And then once you get a hole in there, you can get your pliers in there and pull it all out. But you want to get as much of that out of there as you can, so it's a nice open hole. The next thing you're going to want to do, don't trust your rough-in guys. You're the trim guy, you're the last guy who's here. Everybody's going to blame you if something leaks. Get you a pair of channel locks and this little collar right here, this little locking nut. Go ahead and grab that and see if you can get a couple more turns out of it. Because there is a big foam gasket back there that's going to prevent it from leaking. So you want this tight. If that's just hand tight or it's loose, water can get down in there and then you got a leak and everybody's freaking out on you. So just remember that. Cover your butt. The other part is going to be what I would call the tub shoe itself. This is the drain part. It comes with a green test plug. It's got an O-ring on it. When you get there to trim out, that's going to be down there covering that drain, and you're going to have to unscrew it. Hopefully, somebody's already drained the tub down, because we have to do these for test, and unfortunately, a lot of people like to do nasty stuff in our tubs when there's a plug. This does have a big hole for a big flat screwdriver if there's nasty stuff in here and you need to get it out. But the tub shoes all come with the chrome drain assembly piece right there. Back in the day, if it was a different color, we had to go get the oil rub bronze or the brushed nickel or the gold or whatever they wanted, and we actually had to take that piece out. Well, a bunch of plumbers were having problems because this is tested at rough-in. This is not tested again at trim out. So if something's wrong with that, or you remove it, re-putty it, put it back together with a new one, you're never going to test that again, and you could have a leak later on. So they came up with this really neat thing, and it's these little trim collar thing. This is just a color match thing. Now this is actually nickel. The trim I've got here is actually chrome, but we'll be alright. This is just an example. But if it was chrome, you'd use that drain and you'd use the little stopper that came with it, and you're done. But if it's brushed nickel, oil rub bronze, black, whatever, I think the nickel and the bronze are the popular ones now, and of course chrome. But that just snaps in there. It's got a little O-ring around it, and it just snaps in there. And that covers up that chrome drain. And then you've got your stopper, your lift and turn stopper here. Now, you can take this apart. You can take this little cap off and there's a little place you can put a screwdriver and you can tighten it down if you wanted to. But if you're a trim out plumber, time, it matters. The more fixtures you can get done, the better off you're gonna be. So I would just go and spin this thing by hand. Just spin it by hand. And it's there. You don't really need to put a pair of pliers or put a screwdriver on it or anything. That should be just fine. Plus, you also want to let the homeowner know that they can take that out. These things love to get hair and stuff underneath them, and if they don't know you can take that out, they're calling you. But anyway, and then to finish off here is the little snap-on caps. Some of these screw on. It's just different manufacturers, different stuff, but I think most of the ones now, they just snap in there. Now you are going to want to put a little bit of white tub tile caulk around that once you get the water going. But there we are. That's that would do it if this was a tub. We've got our drain, we've got our lift and turn stopper there, we got our valve and our tub spout. We're almost done. Now we got to do our shower head and our shower arm and our little escutcheon. What I would normally do is go ahead and grab your shower arm. Now, long side goes in the wall, short side down. I've seen so many people do it this way and it looks so stupid. But you're going to put it like that. I normally take this ring and put it on from the back. If it's slopping around, sliding all around like that, there are some tabs here. You can bend them down. There's some little metal tabs in there. And that'll stop it from flopping around like that. Up here, we've got a drop ear 90 or a shower L. Now, most of the time this is going to be sheetrocked over and there's going to be a blue plug hanging out of here, or it might be a brass plug, depending on what you're dealing with. You're going to need your Teflon tape. And then you're going to go around the threads. Now, I've done this so many times, I kind of know. You hold it in this hand, you go around that way. But you want to go with the threads as you were screwing it on. If you do it the other way, that tape's going to want to back off on you. Now, 8 times around with the thin little white tape. Now, if you get some of the thicker tape that's different colors, you might not have to go as many times around. But that's just always been my rule of thumb, is 8 times around. Now, remember, this stuff is a finished product. You're going to want to watch out for those jaws on your pliers. Use a soft jaw, or put a rag on it or something like that. Or you can do my little trick. Take your screwdriver. Remember, I said you can pretty much do this whole thing with just a screwdriver. Stick your screwdriver in the end of the thing like that and use it as a handle. Go on around until you feel it getting tight. Now, you got to be careful when doing this, because if you do it too tight, you can warp and bend this outside. But like I said, I've done it enough. I know exactly how it's supposed to feel. Now, like I said, there'd be sheetrock. You're going to push that up against the sheetrock. You've Teflon taped both sides. You're going to get your shower head. If you're dealing with a tankless water heater, take the water savers out. I used to take the little washer out of here and chunk it too, but I like to use both now. You really don't need Teflon tape if you leave that rubber piece in there, but I like to do both. I mean, if you can prevent a leak twice, you know, you're good. And this, when you're dealing with brand new ones, it's tight enough you can just spin it by hand. It'll go right around like that, and you're done. Now, after you get done trimming out the rest of the house, you're going to hook the water up, you're going to turn the water on, you're going to test everything. You open that valve up, fill your tub up to the overflows, make sure it's holding water. Get up here and check the back of this shower head for leaks, and reach up here, pull that escutcheon back, and get you a little flashlight. Look in here, make sure you ain't got a little drip coming off of that shower L. You do not want any water running down behind this wall, because you're going to have a mess later. But if you can catch it when you're testing it trim out, you're going to be good. Well, that's pretty much it for this one. I hope you can trim out a Delta or a Peerless tub shower trim now. Thanks a lot, guys.